The world above was quiet. Across the American Midwest, the land stretched in endless waves of soil and stone, a heartbeat of the planet hidden beneath fields of corn and steel-gray skies. Farmers went about their lives. Children played in dusty backyards, and nobody thought twice about what lay beneath their feet, until the ground began to tremble. At first, it was small, a local mine collapsed outside Metropolis. Dozens of workers narrowly escaped as the earth split open, exposing a cavern no human had ever seen before. The survivors spoke in whispers about movement deep inside the dark, about shapes that crawled along the walls like shadows with eyes. The authorities dismissed it. Seismic activity, they said. Stress fractures in old stone. Nothing unusual. But Superman knew better. The disturbance. From high above Metropolis, Clark Kent felt it. Not with his eyes, but with the strange sixth sense that came from being attuned to Earth itself. His Kryptonian perception read vibrations no human could. The tremor wasn't just seismic. It was rhythmic, like a pulse, like something alive. Lois found him standing on their balcony later that night, cape fluttering against the city's neon glow. "You've been listening again," she said softly. "I can't ignore it, Lois." His jaw was tight, eyes fixed on the horizon. "Something deep beneath us has started moving. Something old. Do you think it's another alien?" He shook his head. "Not alien. Worse. This feels like it was always here. Waiting. The descent." The following morning, Superman dove into the earth like a comet of blue and red, drilling through layers of rock until the air grew stale and black. What he found stopped him cold. A chamber larger than Metropolis itself stretched beneath the crust, its walls covered in structures that looked less like stone and more like architecture. Massive honeycomb-like pillars glowed faintly, lined with veins of bioluminescent green. And carved into the walls, statues. Not statues of men, not even animals, but towering depictions of humanoid figures with insect features. Mandibles frozen in silent screams, arms elongated into blades, crowned heads staring like gods of some forgotten age. Superman hovered in the center, heart pounding. This wasn't natural. This was civilization, and it was waking up. The first encounter. A sound echoed. A low, chittering vibration that grew into a chorus. Superman's ears snapped to it instantly. From the shadows, they emerged. At first, dozens, then hundreds. Figures crawling from the honeycomb walls, their bodies a terrifying hybrid of man and insect, bipedal, armored in obsidian chitin, with claws that shimmered in the green glow. Their eyes glowed like embers in the dark, reflecting Superman's light. One step forward, taller, broader, with a crown-like crest of bone across his head. His voice echoed through the chamber, carried by a resonance that made even stone quiver. "So, the surface sends its champion, Kryptonian, the one who defies even the stars." Superman's fists clenched. "Who are you?" The creature spread his clawed arms wide. "We are the Forgotten, the firstborn, the last evolution of Earth." The words hung in the cavern like poison. The claim. The leader's mandibles clicked as he spoke again, every syllable deep and commanding. "Before man crawled from caves, we ruled this world. When your kind learned fire, we forged empires. But the surface turned against us. The earth buried us alive, sealing us away." His eyes glowed brighter. "Now, the soil has cracked open, and we rise again. The age of man is over. The age of gods beneath the earth begins anew." Behind him, the hive shrieked in unison, a terrifying harmony of insect voices shaking the very chamber. Superman floated higher, his eyes beginning to glow red. "You had your time," he said firmly. "Earth belongs to humanity now, and as long as I stand, it always will." The leader tilted his head, mandibles curling into something that looked disturbingly like a smile. "Then you, Kryptonian, will be the first to fall." The battle ignites. The swarm surged forward, hundreds of insectoid warriors leaping from the walls. Their claws scraped stone, their mandibles snapped like steel, their movements impossibly fast. Superman blasted heat vision across the chamber, searing through rows of creatures, but more poured in, their bodies stacking like waves against him. They weren't mindless. They fought in perfect unity, moving as one organism, anticipating every strike. For every one Superman shattered, two more leapt into place, clawing at his cape, dragging him down. And through it all, the leader simply watched, eyes burning with cruel intelligence. This was no mere swarm. This was a civilization, a rival species, a claim to Earth's throne. For the first time in years, Superman felt it. Not fear, but something close. Doubt. The cavern roared with the sound of claws and stone. Superman fought like a storm, but deep in the earth, far from the sun's strength, he realized the truth. This wasn't just a battle. It was the beginning of a war for Earth's very future. And the underground gods were only just waking up. The Hive King's throne. The chamber shook with every strike. Superman fought like a storm contained within stone walls, heat vision scorching the hive, fists striking with thunder. Yet the swarm adapted. They were not chaotic like Doomsday, nor mindless like parademons. They were coordinated, a single will spread across thousands of bodies. Each claw that scraped his chest, each mandible that snapped at his cape, carried the rhythm of something greater. Superman knew battles. He knew armies. But this felt like fighting the nervous system of a god. And then they stopped. The swarm froze mid-motion, claws inches from his face. The silence was worse than the screaming. Superman hovered, chest heaving, as the wall ahead cracked open, stone splitting to reveal a corridor lined with glowing green veins. The insectoid leader raised his claw and hissed. He demanded your presence. The throne beneath the world. Superman followed, wary but unwilling to retreat. He could not leave without answers. The corridor opened into a chamber unlike anything he had seen. It was vast, cathedral-like, with columns of living chitin rising to the ceiling, glowing with pulses of bioluminescent energy. In the center stood a throne carved not of stone, but of fused bone and obsidian shell. And seated upon it was the Hive King. He was taller than any of the others, nearly twice Superman's height, his body an armored titan of black and gold. His face bore the same insectoid mandibles and multifaceted eyes, but there was something almost human in his posture, in the way he carried himself. Regal, ancient. When he spoke, his voice vibrated through the air and the stone, resonating not only in Superman's ears, but in his bones. Kal-El, the false god of the surface. At last we meet. Superman hovered lower, fists clenched. Who are you? The Hive King leaned forward, his mandibles clicking. I am Zytherian, the last evolution, the king of the true heirs of Earth. The claim of Zytherian. Zytherian rose from his throne, each movement slow and deliberate, as if he were giving the planet itself time to tremble. His eyes glowed with green fire as he spread his arms. Long before man, he said, we thrived in oceans of stone and seas of molten fire. We built empires when your kind had yet to crawl from the mud. We were buried, not destroyed. We slept while the world shifted above. His claws tightened into fists. And now, humanity builds towers, plays with machines, dreams of conquering stars. But they are flawed, fragile, unworthy. We are evolution perfected. The world will return to us. The surface will be ours again. Superman stepped forward, heat vision sparking faintly in his eyes. You're wrong. Humanity isn't weak. They're stronger than you know, stronger than I'll ever be. And as long as I'm here, they won't bow to you. Zytherian's mandibles spread wide, something like laughter echoing across the chamber. Then you'll watch them kneel, Kryptonian, and you will fall beneath the weight of history itself. The surface trembles. Above ground, the world began to change. In Metropolis, entire city blocks shook as fissures split streets open. Chitin towers began to rise from the cracks, glowing with the same green light Superman had seen underground. Across the globe, in Shanghai, Cairo, Paris, and Gotham, the ground broke open as hives erupted from beneath, spilling insectoid warriors into the streets. Their armor deflected bullets. Their claws tore through steel. Their coordination dismantled human defenses in hours. The world's armies fought, but the hive moved like water, filling every crack, overwhelming every line. And in the chaos, ordinary people began to see it. Superman was not everywhere at once. The surface world had never felt so fragile. The choice. Deep below, Superman stood before Zytherian, rage building in his chest. If you wanted war, you found it. Zytherian tilted his massive head, eyes reflecting the Kryptonian's defiance. Not war. Correction. This planet has carried its parasites long enough. Now evolution continues. You, Kal-El, stand on the wrong side of nature itself. Superman's cape flared as he rose into the air, fists blazing with heat. Then nature's about to get a fight it never expected. The swarm roared, the cavern vibrating as if the earth itself screamed. Zytherian raised one clawed hand, and the hive surged forward, a tide of armored bodies. For the first time in millennia, Earth was no longer man's alone. The hive above, the swarm poured across the surface like a living storm. Skyscrapers were coated in resin, streets became tunnels, and cities bent under the weight of alien architecture. Superman fought with all his might. In Metropolis, he tore through waves of insect soldiers, heat vision igniting the skies, fists cracking exoskeletons like glass. But for every swarm he destroyed, 100 more surfaced. The hive wasn't just attacking, they were reshaping. Towers twisted into spires, highways became veins of green bioluminescence, and human cities transformed into incubators. Everywhere, people screamed. Soldiers fired into the waves, scientists tried to communicate, civilians grabbed whatever they could to fight back. But despite the chaos, humanity did not collapse. They resisted. They improvised. In Gotham, civilians poured gasoline into cracks and lit them aflame. In Paris, engineers redirected power grids to electrocute swarms. In Metropolis, a police unit stood beside Superman, blasting the creatures with everything they had. For the first time, Superman saw it clearly. Humanity was fighting like him. The voice of the hive. As Superman caught his breath above the burning skyline, a voice thundered inside his mind. It wasn't sound, it was thought, forced into his consciousness. Kal-El, you cannot win. He turned sharply, but no one was there. The swarm froze around him. Every drone you strike is nothing but a finger. I am a hand. I am everywhere. Zytherian's voice. The Hive King was speaking through them all. You fight for parasites. Fragile flesh pretending at greatness. But even you, alien, are nothing before us. Do you know why? Because evolution does not care about hope. It only rewards survival. The revelation. Superman pushed upward, flying higher than the clouds, searching for the source of the hive's reach. And then he saw it. Across the Atlantic Ocean, a fissure had widened into a canyon of impossible depth. From it rose something colossal, a spire of living chitin miles high, its surface crawling with drones. It pulsed like a heart, sending signals across the globe. Metropolis, Paris, Gotham. Every eruption was connected. The hive was building not just nests, but a network, a planetary nervous system. At its center, the Hive King planned something far greater than conquest. Superman's eyes widened. They're not just taking Earth. They were turning Earth into a hive world, a strain of war. The fight took its toll. Kryptonian or not, Superman was not infinite. His cape was torn, his arms bled, and the weight of billions pressed on his shoulders. But even in exhaustion, he saw the light of humanity. Firefighters dragging civilians through collapsing streets. Scientists in makeshift labs analyzing capture drones. Soldiers refusing to retreat. Children throwing stones at creatures 10 times their size. Everywhere, Superman saw courage. Raw, unbreakable courage. He remembered his father's words. You were sent here not just to be strong, Kal-El, but to show them their own strength. And now, standing on the brink of Earth's end, he understood. The Hive King's message. Suddenly, the sky itself split with green lightning. A colossal projection of Zytherian's face shimmered above every major city, mandibles clicking in unison with a voice that carried across the world. Children of the surface, your time is over. The hive does not invade. The hive reclaims. You will either kneel or be consumed. His faceted eyes glowed, reflecting fire and fear. Your so-called protector cannot shield you. Even gods fall before the weight of inevitability. Superman rose into the air, bloodied but unbroken. His voice carried across the city, amplified by sheer will. Then hear me, Zytherian. Humanity will never kneel. Not while I stand. Not ever. The city below erupted in cheers, broken voices rising in defiance. For the first time, the hive faltered, not in numbers but in unity. Because now, Superman wasn't just fighting for them. He was fighting with them. Into the hive. The hive spire loomed over the Atlantic like a mountain of bone and shadow, pulsing with green veins of bioluminescence. Superman knew this was the heart. If the spire fell, the hive might crumble. If it stood, Earth would be lost. He dove from orbit, faster than sound, crashing through the spire's outer shell. Resin walls folded inward, tunnels opened like throats, and the living structure swallowed him whole. The deeper he went, the less light remained. The air was thick, alive, vibrating with whispers. He wasn't just inside a fortress, he was inside a body. The hive's truth. In the core, Superman finally saw Zytherian. The Hive King stood taller than any building, his body a grotesque fusion of insect and titan, his mandibles dripping venom that sizzled as it touched the resin floor. His compound eyes reflected endless tunnels, as if each eye held a different hive within it. "Welcome, Kal-El," Zytherian hissed, his voice resonating from every wall, every drone, every echo. "You fight for this world, yet you are not of it. Do you know why the hive rises? Why we are the last evolution?" Superman, chest heaving, narrowed his eyes. "You enslave. You devour. There's no evolution in that. Only destruction." Zytherian's mandibles spread in something like laughter. "Wrong. We were here before them. Before your humans crawled out of the mud, the hive ruled beneath these soils. For millions of years, we thrived. When meteors fell, when ice swallowed continents, when fire swept the skies, we endured." He stepped forward, claws cracking the ground. "Humans are not the children of Earth. We are. You are their false god. I am their true one." The hive's grip. Before Superman could strike, the walls shifted. Thousands of resinous tendrils shot out, coiling around his arms, legs, chest. They glowed with green energy, draining his strength. His knees buckled. For the first time, Superman felt his power flicker, his body betraying him. "Do you feel it?" Zytherian whispered. "This is the Earth reclaiming its stolen gift. You draw power from a sun, Kal-El, but even suns set. The hive is eternal." Superman roared, struggling against the bonds, but the spire fed on his every movement. The tendrils weren't just holding him. They were studying him, pulling his DNA, trying to fold his Kryptonian strength into their evolution. For the first time, Superman realized Zytherian didn't just want to conquer Earth. He wanted to become Kryptonian. Humanity's gamble. Far above, humanity's resistance surged. In every city, people fought harder than ever. Engineers broadcast static signals to jam the hive's coordination. Farmers flooded tunnels with rivers. Entire nations lit their skies with fire to blind the drones. And yet, the hive pressed harder. In Metropolis, Lois Lane broadcast a desperate message to the world. Superman is inside the hive spire. He's fighting for all of us. But this isn't just his battle. This is humanity's test. Stand up. Resist. Fight back. Let them know we will not kneel. The world answered. Across continents, billions screamed one word into the dark. No. The Hive King's choice. Back in the spire, Zytherian lifted Superman with one clawed hand, studying him like prey. "I could kill you now, but that will be wasteful. Instead, I will consume you. Your flesh will seed a new breed, a hive that carries Kryptonian blood. And then, the last obstacle to evolution will be gone. Superman's head sagged, his body trembling. For the first time, the Man of Steel looked defeated. But then he remembered the voices above. The people screaming, fighting, refusing. The light of humanity burned through his exhaustion. His lips curled into a defiant smile. Zytherian, you'll never understand. That's what makes you weak. His body ignited with solar fire. Heat vision exploded in every direction, searing the tendrils, blasting holes through the resin walls. The spire shook, its veins pulsing wildly. Zytherian recoiled, his mandibles shrieking. For the first time, the Hive King looked uncertain. The last dawn, the Hive spire shuddered like a wounded beast. From its core, Superman burst free, glowing with raw solar fury. His heat vision had carved wounds through the resin walls, and fire poured down into the Atlantic as waves crashed against the bleeding tower. Above him, thousands of Hive drones swarmed, blotting out the sky. Each one carried fragments of his DNA, stolen during his capture. They were stronger, faster, more resilient. For the first time, the Hive had evolved with Kryptonian traits. At the center of it all, Zytherian emerged, towering over the battlefield, wings spread wide, his mandibles glistening like blades. His eyes reflected the fire and ocean as he roared. This world belongs to the first children of Earth. The last stand. Superman hovered in the storm, cape torn, his fists glowing red with solar fire. He felt exhaustion pulling at him, but he also felt the weight of billions of human voices behind him. Not while they still fight, he whispered. With a deafening roar, he launched into the swarm, his blows like thunderclaps. Drones shattered in spirals of flame, their bodies raining into the ocean. Heat vision lanced through the sky, cutting swaths through the Hive. But every drone destroyed was replaced. The Hive moved like a single mind, shifting, adapting, flowing around him. For every one he struck down, two more pressed closer. Zytherian advanced, his claws slicing through waves like mountains splitting. You are one. I am Legion. Humanity's spark. On land, humanity unleashed its final gambit. Engineers detonated electromagnetic pulses across continents, scrambling the Hive's coordination. Satellites redirected solar rays, focusing beams of sunlight into the ocean, feeding Superman's power. In Metropolis, Lois Lane stood on a rooftop, broadcasting her voice through hacked Hive channels. Superman is not alone. Neither are we. If the Hive wants Earth, then it must face all of Earth. Every city answered. Fires blazed, weapons roared. Even unarmed civilians used sound, fire, and fury to drive the Hive back. For the first time in its history, the Hive felt something unfamiliar. Fear. The final clash. Superman and Zytherian met above the spire, their clash shaking the skies. Zytherian's claws struck like meteors, carving wounds across Superman's chest. Blood sprayed, but Superman did not falter. He hammered his fists against the Hive King's armored skull, each blow ringing like a bell of defiance. You fight like a god, but you bleed like prey, Zytherian hissed, driving him into the spire. Resin walls cracked, oceans surged, lightning split the horizon. Pinned beneath the Hive King's claw, Superman's strength faltered once more. Then he looked up, beyond the storm, beyond the battle, toward the sun. He whispered one last time. With the last of his strength, he absorbed the focused satellite beams, his body igniting into pure solar essence. His eyes burned white-hot. His skin glowed like a star. Superman became the sun itself. The end of the Hive. With a scream that split the heavens, Superman unleashed everything. Heat vision erupted in a perfect beam, cutting straight through Zytherian's chest. The Hive King shrieked as cracks tore through his carapace, molten fire spilling like rivers. His wings crumbled, his body split in two, collapsing back into the ocean with a roar that shook continents. The spire shattered, its veins bursting into green fire, collapsing into the sea. The Hive swarm froze mid-air, their connection severed. Without their king, they dropped like stones, raining into the waves. The ocean boiled, the skies cleared, and silence spread across the world. Aftermath. Superman floated above the ruins, chest heaving, cape burned to ash. For a moment, the world seemed still. Then the radios crackled. The voices of billions shouted across the airwaves, across the oceans, across every surviving city. We stand. We endure. We live. Superman smiled faintly. He wasn't their savior. He wasn't their god. He was just their ally, their symbol, their proof that even against the oldest children of Earth, humanity had chosen its own path. The legacy. Lois found him hours later, on a shattered coastline, barely able to stand. She took his hand, eyes brimming with tears. You did it. He shook his head, weak but smiling. We did. And for the first time in centuries, the hive beneath the soil was silent. But in the deepest caverns of the earth, far from light, a faint chittering began again, reminding the world that evolution never sleeps. End of story. Superman defeats Zytherian by becoming a vessel of pure solar power. Humanity proves itself by standing together, resisting, and supporting him. The hive is broken, but the story closes with the suggestion that evolution and new threats will always rise.